Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to this holy circle of light. Where we come to show us where the denials of divinity are. We focus on the light first, the light of infinite being, because of the power in divine being to focus on what it is. Holy, whole, and complete. So we're going to do chapter 4 and 5, a review of chapter 4. And if we'll see how far we get, it might take more than a day to do this. As we just carefully review with Jesus and have him show us each denial in the light of truth. The Son of God needs no plan to wake up and see who he is. He is already complete and whole and holy. In the light of divine being, can we see that we're already holy, whole, and complete, infinite light? Just by placing our attention so gently on the light, we can see that there's something here that's already complete. It is the denial of holiness that rests heavily upon his mind. This is why your only function is completion, to see that you're already complete as the Father made you. It's helpful to look again in the light of divine being, infinite love, in honesty of God being, see that you're already light, infinite light. Before an idea arises that something is not complete, what actually notices the thought or the feeling that something's not complete? Jesus says, I have provided what may seem to be steps because in the play of consciousness, the play of denying divinity, it can seem that steps are necessary. And I can assure you they are not. Steps are a desire to experience delay. So in A Course in Miracles, Jesus provided steps because consciousness, the ego, is used to steps. Yet in the light of divine being, to recognize the light of divine being, are there step action? Does it take that to see divine in our experience as light beings? You may believe that God desires these steps for you, yet it is you who desire to experience steps. The decision is always yours to cease to deny what you are now. And this is really the power of what Jesus is pointing to, the power of decision. First, the power to recognize that infinite light is here. The light of divine being, our true nature. Instantaneous recognition. That's the holy instant. There's no time needed to recognize divine being when we really look. Not with the eyes, it's beyond what the eyes can see. Jesus is showing us that the decision in the mind, in the light of infinite being, we can see we can see this, we can recognize the light. It's our natural to us, natural. And we can have in our direct experience. And hear the answer. There may get quick protests make, oh no, these are all the reasons why not light. These are the denials of the light. We look in the light of divine being. Can any thought that arises change divine being? So now we look at the tricks we played upon ourselves. It is a trick. It's a decision to experience a trick that we're not divine. To try to kick God out of our mind. Kick divine light out of our mind. Nope, boot. And Ajasanti was talking today. Someone was asking about the existential terror that arises when we start looking to the light, like this terror. And I understand that was a feeling indeed underneath. But if we peel back that feeling, very quickly we'll find two things. One is when we look as the light of divine being, is the light terrified of anything? So light go, okay, you have to be terrified to wake up. So that's prefer know that's completely unnecessary. I'm going to ask Jesus, is it necessary to have a dark night of the soul to wake up to divine nature? No. It's a desired experience, a desire to have an experience of waking up to divine light. They're also talking today, as he was mentioning about consciousness, the expansion of consciousness, the experience, the consciousness expanding. And how Nisargadatta Maharaj was, he was an Indian sage, and he spoke about awareness different from consciousness. And Jesus talks about the same thing. Awareness is merely infinite light that we can recognize immediately. And if we ask awareness in the light of divine being, does divine being even know what consciousness is? No. So any expansion or experience of change that arises is a desired experience. That's worth repeating. Any change that arises, consciousness is a function of change. It's a function of the experience of the changing. Anything that arises within consciousness is a desired experience as part of the tiny mad idea. Now, the tiny mad idea in unified consciousness, well, let's ask the light. Is consciousness the tiny mad idea? It's a desire for experiencing the changing. The desire for an experience, we can ask the divine light. The light of infinite being, divine light. Is consciousness the desire for an experience of change? How do we all know that? There's no one that knows it. There's no person to know it. It's just the wisdom of super consciousness, which maintains the memory of wholeness, when consciousness is a desire to fragment out and experience change. And to press the memory, the knowing. It's actually a desire to press knowledge, true knowledge, not knowledge of a thing, divine light out of awareness. We can ask the divine light that. Is consciousness a desire to push the light out of awareness? Here's the answer. Mm-hmm. Yet in working with Jesus and asking him to reveal these desires, to not experience a consistency of divine light all the time, to bring them into awareness, they're no longer suppressed below them. And when the desires go, the otherness experience goes as well. Nothing arises without the desire for it. No changing. A match is checking in with Jesus. Nothing that moves or changes happens without the desire for it. Desire driving the engine, being the engine for it. So that means all movements in the world, all movements in consciousness, all tensions. Yet the Holy Spirit retranslate all of that otherness or reactivity to the world through forgiveness, through a change in perception, to collapse the idea that there is perception, the experience of perception. So it unifies. So we no longer suffer our own delusions. We see now that through light that it's not real. And we come down to all the powers and willingness. And when you see how willing you truly are, you will weep. We're just doing a review of chapter 4 and 5 so we can share it out easily on YouTube. And it's such a great chapter. When you see how willing you truly are, you will weep. And you see the power that carries the power of God with it. It's like, here's a little da-da-da-da-da dream happening, and we're so wound into it that something's happening to a me. And Jesus like puts a little tiny wedge in there, a little crack of light. Look outside of this, out of consciousness. You have to look outside of this idea of consciousness, that this world that's made the unreal, and open up the tiniest crack to see that you're infinite. Because the tiniest, is there even a crack in consciousness to go, okay, is the light here? It's just a yes. It's not. That's the little willingness to go, something infinite, something before consciousness. And why am I so here? It's like Jesus, there's light here. I could see it. I remember he brought this to my attention several times, and I didn't pay too much of attention to it, as we all do. Most beings don't pay any attention to the light. Like I said, my niece got it right away. All's forgiven. Okay, that's the whole course in about 15 seconds. All is forgiven, the light. But I remember him showing me, doing like this little vision thing. This is how the Spirit comes into consciousness and then displays for us the truth. And he's showing me like a bag of words over here. You can have this bag of words, or you can have infinite, like this, And I remember sharing that with someone, and they said, they told me, oh, you didn't see that or something. Of course, I became very angry. So my own doubt thought came up that I believed to deny what Jesus showed me. Infinite bag of thoughts. How does this feel over here? He's like in a little thing he was showing me. And that's basically the whole pattern. Revelatory experience, big denial. No, it's not true. You get all pissed off about it. Yet that's the willingness. The willingness is to take that pissed offness, that anger over seemingly something happened right here. It seems like X happened, anger. A brother seemingly said something, anger. And so, okay, now we have to like flip that over. The world gets created, and to hide from the guilt, we create a projection to try to get the world as the problem, rather than looking back, come all the way back and see the desire for the experience of anger, to create an objective experience and then be pissed off about it. See the desire for the experience. So now Jesus goes, just drill down to the desire for that experience to be angry. Desire to have an experience of anger. So it's a desired experience. Willingness to be shown that every thought you have ever had or will have is untrue and actually do not exist. Thoughts do not. In the light of divine being, do thoughts exist in our direct experience as divine beings? This is good to look at repeatedly till we admit thoughts are desired experience, or thoughts of desired experience, and hear the light respond. Thoughts are an expression of consciousness. This may seem to be a large undertaking, yet it is no match for your purity and light as the Son of God. Are thoughts any match for the light? You desire to define yourself in the world through thought, and in this you will suffer the experience of separation. In A Course in Miracles, I shared that only the thoughts of God are true because of the addiction to thought and experience through thought. This is the miscreation of objective experience, desire to experience cause and effect. Split cause from effect. I think David calls this like the kingpin, the master key. That's what David calls, Hofmeister calls the master key. So the ego looks at something and goes, I feel like I'm quoting Voltaire. If you've ever read Voltaire has a book, Cause and Effect, it's really quite good. But anyway, he goes, there's the cause. The cause is my brother came up to me, told me something, and the effect. That's the ego's idea of cause and effect. So time gets split out, a timeline. This happens and this happens. Yet we can know and effect are the same. Yet we can have a direct experience of cause and effect is the same in the light of divine being. In the light of divine being, honesty of God, are cause and effect the same? Is there any difference between cause and effect? The light doesn't know separation. It doesn't know a difference between cause and effect. It's everything simultaneously in the light of divine being. As soon as we split out cause and effect, then varied by seemingly in form. Cause and effect, create something and have it feel the effect of it. It is desired experience. It is desire to be an object in the world with everything in seeming opposition and experience infinite love. Populate a world and populate it with a bunch to pretend that cause and effect are separate. This is why you deny your brother. This is why, as you deny your brother, so you deny yourself. The brother's like the little moving signal of where cause and effect is being invested in. Where cause and effect, just watch them, watch your thoughts. Sitting in the airport, that's really great. You know, I remember just sitting in the airport watching judgments. That one's tall, that one's short, that one's fat, that one's thin, that one, he, she, they. All the reasons in the conscious mind why there's an other. Judgment is immediately two. One who judges, one judged. Something to be judged, an object. In the light of divine being, does divine being know judgment? Any denial is only a denial of yourself is whole. You have called your brother to yourself as the symbol of what you believe about what never happened. Showing where every belief is. As long as you invest in the denial of your brother as whole and complete, you will not feel whole and complete. One thought that a brother is not whole and complete is self-bondage. One single little squeak, you know? And there was a time I thought, you know, because we ping those thoughts aside rather than looking directly at what we believe about a brother. Oh, that's really bad to think there's fat. No, I think he's fat, you know? Look at it directly. It's thought, every thought is a thought about ourselves, what we believe about ourselves. I think he's fat, therefore I'm judging myself about weight. I think he's skinny, therefore I'm judging myself, booting myself out of heaven with that thought of judgment. That is why your brother is your holy gift to yourself to break the addiction to the denial of yourself as divine being. So our brothers, living in community with our brothers is the addiction breaker. Ego doesn't like living in spiritual community at all. I didn't think I'd like it, actually. I appreciate it now, though. I'm grateful for it. Because in that close quarters with other beings, you really can see where all the judgments are very clearly. Jesus just says it's helpful. For a speed up, I mean, if you want to recycle on the samsara cycle, because the ego makes its little fiefdoms on, you know, I love that. I was typing that today. It's so hilarious. I think, Jana, you might have already commented on it. I posted that out because we were reviewing the book and Jesus talks about the world being a little fiefdom that doesn't, that just cracks me up. It's so true. You know, you have to admit, oh gosh, she's so right. This little fiefdom of nothingness trying to get control. And I'm seeing how in spiritual community, you really see that belief comes right like this, how the belief that a brother's trying to tear heaven from us. It's like, right. You can't escape it. Like right here. Whereas the ego will create all these scenarios that are safe and comfortable and has its little comforts. And so it gets to preserve and hide those parts. It's not like impossible out of, you know, anything can happen because we're infinite beings. So we can finally say, okay, I see that I'm light. I don't need all this other stuff, but it's best to follow what's given by the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit knows where our greatest happiness is. We truly have confused, Jesus says that, and of course we've confused what our happiness is because we turned everything upside down. Peace is death to us, to an idea of a personal identity. Having peace, death is required for peace. Yet in the light of divine being, can we find that? Death required? No. Divine being doesn't have a stipulation. Does divine light right? Here's a list of all the things you need to do to feel peace. It just is peace. But the ego has a list. It has a list that's a future list. when this happens, and if that happens, and maybe when that happens, and if this happens, and when I go on vacation in 6 months, it has the list. Yet that's a trick that peace can be found in that way. So we have to look with Jesus at these denials, because we need the power of our own divine being, the symbol of the divine being in our mind, to come in and just cut through the, all the little blind spots we created on purpose to be blind to infinite light on a consistent basis. To break the addiction. Consciousness, Jesus says this, so I'm saying it. Consciousness is an addiction, is the addiction to consciousness. We can ask in the divine light, not just because it comes out of its mouth, we can all know. In the light of divine being, is consciousness the addiction? Chapter 5, Holy Relationship. The only holy relationship there is with God, and the sonship is one. The only holy relationship is divine light. We can ask the divine light that. And light of infinite being is the only relationship, the light. Hear the answer. Infinite light. Divine being does not recognize other. We know the light, and the divine light of divine being doesn't recognize an other. There's no other. Doesn't recognize bodies. Does divine light recognize bodies? Thus, you as divine being do not recognize other. Just in case there are any questions, we can just ask the question. In the light of divine being, honesty of God, are we the same thing as the light? We synonymous with light. If that just gets accepted, there's not much work to do. There's no work to do. Yet you can pretend that you do. Thus, you as divine being do not recognize other. Yet you can pretend that you do, and in this, who you truly are can never be found. Love does not move horizontally between bodies. This is such a fundamental concept in the ego thought system. That body, I feel love when this body comes walking by. And I feel more love when this body walks by than this body walking by over here. We should get some little puppets, because it's no different. And then when that body goes away, I don't feel love anymore. Love is gone when this body goes. In the light of divine being, when a body moves, does it change infinite light? This is the trick in consciousness. The light's gone. This is missing. The desire to experience something missing. Does the light notice when a body comes or goes? That's really humbling. It doesn't even notice when this body comes and goes. That's really humbling. And you start going and realizing you're looking in the light. And it's really just marinate as the light and just start looking around as the light. And start noticing things. And I think I've told the story before. When I first started, I was just sitting there and going, this is not outside of me. And you'll hear other people talk about this in the spirit. This is not outside of me, this bottle right here. And then I kind of laughingly told the story about, okay, it's okay for this bottle to be inside of me, but I certainly don't want any of those people in here. I think I told you about it. And I wrote Jackie that long letter. I don't care. I saw that. I don't want that. I do not want that. I don't want those people. It's okay for this bottle, but not those people. That's how consciousness works, to divide, you know, to push the light out of awareness that this does not exist. That does not exist. And what's really humbling is you see that you're no different than this water bottle. All the emphasis placed on a body. You have more. The body has no. Well, let's just ask the light, not just because I'm saying it. Let's just ask the light for herself. This is really okay. Let's just ask. Does the body have any more value than this? In the light of honesty of God, does the body have any more value than this water bottle? You feel the smoke rise. He doesn't want to see. Oh, you can write me a dirty letter if you want. Okay, I'm ready, because Jackie read mine. She's kind enough to go through it and write me back. I think this is a breakthrough. Bless her heart. That's what we're here for beauty. When the light starts shining, we're going, But, just stay as the light and just start noticing. I love that. I can't remember his name, a guy in Australia who's non-dual and talks a lot about non-duality and that kind of stuff. And, I'm going through all these machinations, all these years, forgiveness, whatever. And he says, and here's his story in consciousness. I just started walking around and noticing things and realized I wasn't separated from anything. It's like, that's how simple it can be. Unless there's a desire for an experience otherwise, some kind of complicated waking up. Can you hear me okay, Janet? You doing all right? No? Wonder if she lost the signal. If it's not working, you can maybe leave and just come back in. Try that too. That might work. I don't know. It could be our signal's low, although I'm not. You're okay now? Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. Love does not move horizontally between bodies. Love is as you are. Actually, I'm just thinking about how humbling that is to be the same as a water bottle. That would fix a lot of specialness, doesn't it? It does. That's a collapse of specialness. Love is as you are. This is holy relationship. What is? Infinite light. Meanwhile, we're going around trying to pretend this is another body. We're trying to have a relationship with the body. In the light of divine being, can bodies join in truth? We're just as one with this water bottle as another body already. Because it's arising in totality. It's not apart from us. This is holy relationship. What is the holy relationship? In holy relationship, there is only perfect peace and happiness. Peace and happiness is all there is. In the light of divine being is peace and happiness all there is. When we check in with the light, can it find anything other than peace and happiness? Happiness is it's a concept. Ego turns it into a concept about what happiness is. And so when we look divine light and we go, okay, in the light of divine being, is happiness all there is? And the divine light goes, yep. And we go, well, wait a minute. This does not feel like the same, happiness I know about. Peace doesn't seem that interesting to me. Well, that's exactly the issue, why we're so wound into the world. because we've become addicted to emotions. The emotion of happiness. Happiness, the happiness experience. I'm happy when, I'm happy if, I'm happy, you know, the conditional happiness rather than infinite happiness is our nature. The part of us that, not, I don't want to say part. It's not the part of us. Beingness that doesn't know what unhappiness is. The ego has happy, unhappy, that swing, unhappy, where divine light, does divine light swing? It doesn't swing, it just is. It's nature. The nature of divine being is happiness, peace, gratitude. They're all, I like it, Muji calls it beautifully, the perfume of the divine. It's just the natural, it's like a flower gives off a scent. That's the scent of divinity. It's not, happiness of the world is like earned, something we have to go out and earn. You know, I work hard, now I can be happy. I achieve something, I can be happy. I buy a house, I can be happy. My kids come over, I can be happy. The conditional happiness, which is actually a mini little death. It's actually pleasure disguised as happiness. In holy relationship, there's only perfect peace and happiness is all there is. If you believe that love can be found in another, this will be your experience and you will suffer it. Because there'll always be a seeking for the horizontal. It's in love can't move horizontally. In the light of being, does love move horizontally in any case? It can seem to pour out naturally as an expression of being, but then that's just natural. It's not on the search. The ego's love version is give to get. I'll give you love, you get me love. You're withholding love for me. I'm withholding love for you because you're not nice. You know, it's this. Bonk, 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 bonk. Where beingness just is. It's love itself. It's not looking for love. This world is an impossible training ground for seeking for love through what you believe about your brother. What you can get, the getting. It's that hunt for love and wanting. That was just so obvious. After doing the course for a couple of months, I could just feel that predator wanting something in conversations where I hadn't really noticed it before. You know, you just have a talk. We couldn't just have a talk with someone without seeing how there was a wanting under it, wanting something. And as long as that's not seen, it's everything feels hollow. It can't, it's like the void can never be filled with that kind of feeling. This world is an impossible training ground for seeking for love through what you believe about your brother, the very beliefs you hold about yourself. That is such a good one to see. It's good to do when you watch movies and you hear one person seemingly informed talk about another and say, and listen to all the beliefs that come out. Every belief that comes out of their mouth is what they feel about themselves. He's XYZ. He's clueless. That's what we, you know, whatever thoughts we have never about another being, they're the thoughts we believe about ourselves. You believe beliefs provide you stability, yet beliefs change and thus are unstable. And through your desire for beliefs, so you will experience the shifting sands of time in which love is never found, or when it seems to be found, will quickly fall away to despair. It's the game of the desire to experience disappointment in love. that love can leave us homeless. So we leave the love of God, infinite, unchanging, to have an experience of a love that leaves us in despair. That doesn't feel like a very good trade-off. But there we are, insisting Jesus when he's trying to take the scissors away from us when we're running like a little kid, trying to poke our eyes out, and we start screaming, no, Jesus, no, this is going to be horrible. You're just... That's why it's so helpful to keep going back to the divine light. And the light of being, is this true? If you believe that love is anything less than what it is, everything given by the Father, you will suffer that belief because you desire it. If you only look within your brother to find what you have denied yourself, show me what I have denied myself when your brother comes walking by. And admit that you are denying yourself, the power of heaven lands at your holy feet, because you will see that this denial of yourself is untrue. The self-imposed chains that you have set will fall easily aside. When I said, forgive them, for they know not what they do, it was helpful to point beyond the actions of another. It is an expression of the benevolence of the Holy Father, which always remains true. Benevolence. Now is the time to look beyond and see there's no other to forgive. We're only forgiving ourselves. Until such a time as we see that forgiveness is actually impossible. That's why it's the last belief. Ramana Maharshi calls self-inquiry. It's a form of self-inquiry because it's really asking, is this thought true? It's like Ramana's question, who am I? He says it's like a thorn. You use a thorn to remove a thorn, and then the thorn disappears. That's what forgiveness is. You remove it, it removes all ideas and all doubts about divinity. There was a beautiful talk on forgiveness today, actually, in the course lesson. How forgiveness in the light of divine being isn't true, but in the dream of separation, it's the only belief that does not create other beliefs. It's not like mushroom out. Beliefs, like, they mushroom. They're like little, I don't know, they're little, they multiply like tribbles. If you ever saw that movie, The Trouble with Tribbles, these little tribble fuzzy balls into a Star Trek, and they'd look and they would start finding them everywhere. They would open up a cabinet and 1,000 of these little tribble things would fall out. They would just be everywhere. And that's what one belief does. It's like this little self-perpetuating. From one belief, it just blows out into consciousness and an entire experience, pictures and forms moving. And that's how powerful our minds are. One belief. The benevolence of the Father, like his Holy Son, knows no other. An other is only your miscreation, the desire for the experience of false perception. When you look deeply at how you deny your brother wholeness and completion, you see how you deny yourself all the love the Father has given, that is given of the Father. This is just the fastest path to salvation. Because we really don't want our brothers to be ourselves. Or to be the same. Consciousness loves those differences. That's rights. I want my rights. I want the right. I love that. In Muji's ashram, one of the ashram precepts is live without rights. At one point, I thought that is so, how can you live without rights? I was really into in the US and how our rights had all been taken away. And then when I finally got what Muji was saying, to live without rights, how much happiness that is. Does infinite being go around looking for rights in our direct experience? Is it like hunting around? I'm going to find some rights for myself. It's like it doesn't even know what rights are. The desire for rights come out of a feeling of inadequacy and that there's something to protect. It's actually an attack upon ourselves. That's really deep. Living out without rights is not to have attack. An unholy relationship is a desired experience where objects, anything that seems to change or move in this world, are of greater value than recognizing the wholeness that is already here. Divine being recognizes only wholeness and completion in all things. This is the lesson. God is in everything I see. You, as a divine being in your natural state, can only see in wholeness unless you invest in an experience of fragmentation. A world of relativity, strife, hardship, and suffering. God never divides. Does the divine light divide? Would it divide itself from us in the light of divine being and honesty of God? Would the light divide itself from us? You can hear that answer, no. It doesn't know what dividing from us is. Yet you can pretend that you do through the desire and thus experience the effects of your desire. In A Course in Miracles, I shared the beliefs that you hold, that you use to hold yourself in bondage. I will translate them now so that you can see them in the light of what you desire to experience. When you see that you do desire them and give the desire to me as you no longer want to cast the shadow in your holy mind, all the power of the sonship is restored unto you. Yea, you will see that it's never been apart from you. It is you. Division will be unknown to you as it is unknown in your holy natural state. So tomorrow we'll go back through the beliefs in chapter 5. These are some of the first ones he's provided to take a look at. Thank you, Jesus, for joining us to look at these beliefs about ourselves that deny the divine light is always here. Thank you, Holy Father, for being with us. Amen.